Welcome back. So in this Selenium with Python series, today we are going to see how to handle the stale element reference exception. So in our previous session, we have seen what are the Selenium exceptions with respect to the Python library, and we have seen couple of the exceptions when it is occurring and why do we need to handle those exceptions and few of the use cases of those handling. Okay, so in that we were looking into one of the exception, that is stale element reference exception actually, and we kind of done an workaround actually to handle that. So if you see in this, so let me do for better readability, let me add another file here, and then let me put that as test underscore selenium stale element reference dot py. Okay, some name I'm giving to this one, and then let me copy paste this entire thing. Okay, so that we will have our own stuff here. So let me just recap actually whatever we have done that. So I have just what do you call launched this browser with this URL, and then I have just asserted with the title just to make sure that the site is loaded properly, and then I have identified one of the element, and then we normally click. So this is the way we normally do it, right? When a particular element, let's say we want to utilize multiple times, we just create a variable and then we assign the identification to that variable so that we can use it multiple times. Okay, now where is the problem is coming? So the problem is coming when you perform a specific operation, and let's say that leads to a document refresh or your browser refresh, then that basically what do you call updates your browser DOM actually. Now when it is refreshing your DOM or it is updating with some other content, then the reference to this existing element variables kind of losing actually. So while losing this reference, if you are using the same variable after your browser is refreshed, that's where actually we are getting this stale element reference exception. Like in this case, we were just clicking on this. Now while clicking, let's say that we were mocking actually, right? So where it is refreshing your browser, and then when you use the same variable, because we don't want to again what do you call identify this one, right? Because the same line will be repeating actually always. So that's why anyway we have already assigned that value, so we used this one. But this is where actually we are getting this stale element reference exception. Okay, and for a quick workaround, in our previous session we have seen that how did we recover actually this, or how did we resolve this tail element reference exception? By doing a try catch block or try except block in Python. But I was just telling that this is not a proper way, because think about a situation where you have on a single page, let's say you have 15 to 20 elements, and at the beginning you have mentioned everything and you have identified those elements, and then you are using, now you are not sure when exactly your browser DOM is refreshing and then which element you are getting this tail element reference exception. So this is not a good practice, because all those 15 elements which I have done here, each and every action I need to write these two lines of code, because I have to identify and then use that element, which is not a good practice, right? So we have to find out a way where we will be utilizing, or we will be initializing once, but we will use it as many as times in my framework in any other file as well, and that should be instantly identifying that element so that we can avoid this tail element reference exception. Because the concept to avoid this tail element reference exception is that whenever you are performing certain action, you identify that element. That is the simple logic actually, if you want to avoid this reference exception. So normally people, while practicing or else while building the framework, what they do, they will create a class. In that class they will put all the elements like this, and then they will call it actually, they will be calling the variables actually by using the class name. but they are not identifying this element every time they want to use it. That's where actually this particular exception is coming. Okay, so now we will try to what do you call resolve this one. Let me do one thing. Let me first run this just to see if this particular way is working fine or not. If it is working, how do we improvise that? So let me quickly update, add one more line here. So I will just put some time dot sleep, maybe 3 seconds, and then I will say driver dot quit. Okay, simple test I'm running, so hyphen sb for more readability, and then let me give provide the path of this, and then test underscore. Why I'm making it is a test underscore, because I'm running the PyTest actually. Okay, so Selenium stale. Okay, let me run this one. Okay, you can see it printed properly and no exception it occurred, but it basically came to this except block actually. So it means that in this particularly with this particular statement, it is throwing me this tail element exception, and in the except block I basically handled that one actually. But as I told, this is not the proper way. Even we could able to achieve this one, this is not the right way. Now how do we do that? Like in a page object model concept, what we normally do, so in each page we are keeping the elements and then the user actions as well, or the element actions. Like if you want to fetch some text, or if you want to click on a particular element, or if you want to send some value to a text box, everything we are keeping into a page object model actually, and then we are calling it whenever we need. So the same thing we will replicate here. So now if you see what and all methods or operations I'm performing with respect to this element, I'm doing a click, I'm doing a send keys, right? And I said we need not to repeat this one actually. Okay, because this is what you call repetitive code actually, and we want to reduce that. So I have got one solution to this, a better way. Let's try to write that better way and see if it is really helping us or not. So for this what I will do, I will create methods actually. So every user action I will create a method. Okay, and then I will pass the locators inside that, because I don't want to hard code this username as well. Like let's say if I do something, click username, send text to username, I can do that, and I can use this find driver element, and wherever I want to use this username field I can call that. But again I am what do you call hard coding this username, right? Now I cannot use it for my element actually. Like let's say other elements, if I want to send some value to this email field, if I want to send some value to this telephone field, again I have to create separate methods for each of these fields, right? Which is not an appropriate way actually. So what we need to do, we need to make dynamic actually. First thing is that all of these operations I need to create separate methods, and then in each method I need to make these things as, or the locators as dynamic, so it won't be limited to this username field only. If you're not understanding, just watch what I'm doing and then you will get to know what I'm doing. Now I said that for each operation. Now the first operation would be click, right? Any element that you want to click actually. Now in this I want to send some parameters actually. This is basically a method inside the same class only, or else inside the same file I'm just creating a method actually, and mark it this is not a PyTest method, this is just a user defined method. In page object model, while we will be learning, we will see how we can separate this one into a utility method or utility class, and we can use it across all of my framework, not only limited to this file only. Okay, so this basically need two objects, one is my driver and another is locator actually. We know about this because driver we need because we want to identify the element, locator because on what element we need to perform the action. Okay, now we will use the concept of the WebDriver wait. If you would have seen my previous session actually on the WebDriver wait, we were using the WebDriver wait, right? And I was saying that there are certain methods actually, the expected conditions method, which returns me an element actually. Like this particular method ec.presence of element located basically waits for a particular element till it loads on the screen or till whatever time I'm specifying. And also this method is basically returning me the element. So both of these operations are having with one line of code, so why not we can use that here actually. So what I will do here, WebDriver, wait, maybe I can copy it directly, whatever it is mentioned here. Okay, and as I said, I want to make it as dynamic. So for this, what I need to do, I need to make it as a locator, actually simple locator only. Okay, I need to give another parenthesis. Okay, now this click method, what exactly this click method does? On an element, I need to click something, right? Now let me, okay, I need to give another space, blank space, and here I will just say click. Simple thing. Now what is happening? This particular line of code will wait till the element is present or till the element is coming, because sometimes based on your performance, based on your internet, the element might take some time actually. So why not we can wait specific amount of time, and then we will return that element. Now when we are getting that element, we can perform whatever option we want. We can click, we can send some text to that. So all those operations we can do with this one. Fine. Now click operation is done. Now here you can see the locator is basically an dynamic actually. Whatever locator I will pass it to this click method, this particular method will click on that element. Okay, now the same thing, let me quickly add another line actually, and this is basically for the send keys. And you can give any name actually to this one. You can basically say click, you can say type, or any name that you want to give based on your understanding or readability, you can use it. Now here also I will pass the driver locator. I will have to pass another thing, that is the value actually. What is that text I want to send actually to this locator? Now that here I will say send underscore keys, this is the method. Okay, and here I will just say the value. Okay, normally what happens when you are writing like this into a separate methods, you might not get the auto intelligence actually. This is how the Python works actually. So basically you need to understand this returns an element. Now any element operations you can mention it here. Okay, so value it will enter, that's it. It will just click on that, or else what you can do, even you can write like this. You can do like this clear method. You can clean actually, if there is any existing text is there, you can clear that, and then you can send some text. Basically you can write whatever you want to do here. Okay, you can even write whether, I mean, wait till the page load event, like we have seen, right? There is a document dot ready state, we can execute the javascript, we can put a while loop till the document dot ready state is complete, wait that much of time. Because see, normally what happens, before dealing with this presence of element, we need to make sure that the page is loaded completely or not. So that's why anything that you feel, you can write it inside this. If you have some loggers attached to your framework, you can even send some text to your logger as well. So this is more flexible actually, because it is our own defined methods, right? Fine, at this moment I'm just writing simple waiting, and then it will send the value to this particular element or locator. Now we need to see how we can call these methods actually into our test script actually here. So basically what I will do, I don't want to do a try catch block here actually, because I want to avoid that. Now this complete thing actually now I don't need. I will just comment multi-line comment, and then the same thing, let me put a quote here, double quotes. Okay, now here what I will do, instead of doing all these things instantly, I can call this one. Now I can just say click, and now this accepts two parameters, right? One is the driver, you can see it is highlighting at the top, and then comma the locator, whatever the locator I want I can send through this one. Okay, the sending the locators are bit different in case of Python actually. Observe this one. Now let's say I want to send the ID actually, find element by ID, right? So what I can do, I can use the by locator dot I will put by id, then comma, mark it. This is one parameter only, but I'm just putting that into a parenthesis. Now here I need to send the exact locator. Actually, that exact locator is username. Okay, I'm doing this click event. Now once I will click, see here, no find element, nothing I'm doing, no assigning, nothing, simply I am doing this one. Actually, even we can do better actually on this. I will be just talking in a moment. Now let's say that the driver, actually I mean the page got refreshed for some reason after you clicked this one. The same thing I'm mocking it up, but we will not get stale element reference element exception. That is what I'm going to show. Now I will say send keys. The same thing, I will send a driver, and I will copy paste this one. Okay, and then I will have to send the value, right, what I want to print. Now this is what I can do, and then it will wait for certain amount of time, and then driver dot quit. Now let's see if this is working fine or not. And I said this will not give me this tail element reference exception, because each operation I am finding the element instantly, so that's why I won't get the reference exception, because there is no point of now getting the browser DOM updated while using that variable, because there is no variable concept only here coming. And again, another thing, I have the flexibility. I can click on this username, even I can write the same statement. Let's say that I want to click on the email field, I can just say that email. Okay, and I have the flexibility to use any id here. I can put by.xpath, by.css selector, anything that I can do. And the same thing I can just say like this, and let me just copy paste the same thing, and then I will send some value to this one. So qabbox@gmail.com. Now you can see with one method actually I can use it as many as times I want, and I'm avoiding the duplication here. And the code also looks very neater, right? If somebody reads this one, they can able to identify what exactly I'm doing. Like I said, it's not limited that you need to write this method in each and every file. You can keep it into a separate file and call it whenever you need that. We will see that in our page object model while we are learning that. But let's first run this one, and whatever I'm saying to avoid this tail element refresh exception, let's see whether it is proving our stuff or not. So for this, let me run this. Okay, so it is giving some exception. Let's see what it is. So it's telling web element object has no attribute send keys. Okay, let's see this one, send keys. Actually, this should be small k. Like I said, we might not get any auto intelligence that what this element has the values. I just saw actually here. You can see here, this is the send keys where k is a small letter, and then I'm using the same thing. And this one you can keep as it is, no problem with this. Now let's rerun the same code. You can see full name and then the email both got entered, and then I'm not getting any kind of stale element exception even though I refreshed the screen. But whereas in our previous method way, whatever we were learning, that time we were getting this stale element reference exception. Fine. So this is one of the good way of handling this tail element exception, or any other kind of exception also. Let's say that if you're no such element exception if you're getting, then also with this particular method logic you will avoid that, because we are writing this one here, or so automatically that exception also we are handling. Okay. So I was just telling, before executing this code, even we can do a better way of handling this one, because the thing is that if you see, we are hard coding the values also here. Now let's say if I'm using in five different what do you call test cases, I mean, let's say that this is the login screen actually, where we need to log in each of the test case, right? So do we need to really mention this one, driver by id, username by id, password, and then click on that sign in button? Now let's say that in future, if your developer would have changed the username to email as a what do you call id, now you have to go to all of your test cases, whether you have 5 or 50 test cases, you have to change this one. Now this is again not a good practice, right? So what we can do, and this will be we will be fixing this one when we will be learning the page object model, because we will be writing the page objects. In that page objects we will mention this one only once only, and then we will call this one as a variable to this test case actually, so that if any time if your attributes or the element identification changes, we will just change in that page object file only, and we need not to even come to this test case also to update anything, because we are just using the variables only. So that is again another good practice actually, to make everything dynamic. So the concept behind whatever I'm saying is that just write it once and then use it wherever you need. This increases the readability and then the maintenance of your code also, if anything gets changed in future. Okay, so this is the way actually we can avoid this tail element reference exception or any other kind of exceptions that you feel. And it is not limited to click or send keys. Let's say that you are fetching some text from your what do you call, any element, you can write another method actually here, and you can say that get text, and here the same thing, driver locator, you can send it, and then you know that what to write here. I'm not intentionally I'm leaving this line. Now you can just write it your own and then call it here. Okay, and see whether that is working fine or not. If you're not getting what to write in this get text logic, do comment into this video, and then we will discuss that. Fine. Okay, this is pretty much it for today, and stay tuned. We will be seeing some more Selenium stuff, and then we will grow as we learn into the framework designing. Okay, thank you for watching.